listening to the Pasco Podcast with Mike Carballa. Welcome to Season 3 of Pasco Podcast, a series about leadership and public service. We'd like to thank our sponsors, the nearly 600,000 people of Pasco County, as represented by the Board of County Commissioners. It's through their trust and empowerment of our workforce and leadership team that we're able to bring you this podcast. This podcast is designed to help public servants build leadership skills and leverage them for success by sharing the experiences of our peers.
Hi, I'm Mike Carballa, and welcome to our 40th episode of Pasco Podcast. From May 5th to May 11th, we're celebrating National Corrections Officers Week. And it's an opportunity for us to show our officers how much we appreciate them and celebrate their extremely important role in public safety. This week has been specially recognized since the mid-'80s, but it's even more important for us to be here since the Pasco Board of County Commissioners recently assumed operations of the jail in Land O'Lakes. So today, two of our special guests from our corrections team are joining us today, Sergeant Jan Michael Hargrett and Lieutenant Michael Roche. Gentlemen, welcome. I appreciate you being here today.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Hey, so, I'd like just to kind of start out if each of you could just tell me a little bit about yourselves and how you came to Pasco County. Lieutenant, let's start with you.
So graduating high school at 17, I really didn't know what I wanted to do. So I decided to join the United States Navy, and did 6 years in the Navy. Decided to get out and still didn't really know what I wanted to do. And
what'd you do in the Navy? I'm just curious.
I was a gunner's mate. So I worked with weaponry and stuff like that. I was stationed on an aircraft carrier and spent some time in Puerto Rico too.
Gotcha.
So, yeah.
A little tough for civilian applicability there, huh? Okay.
I was trying to relate it.
Right.
Weaponry. So then I had to get a job because I had a family, and the opportunity presented itself to me to go to Pasco Sheriff's Office for a sponsored corrections academy.
Okay.
With the intention of becoming a police officer in patrol at some point, but got into the field and really loved it and saw the opportunities, and here I am 25 years later. So
that's fantastic.
Yeah.
What drew you to it, right? Because I mean, most folks, they kind of go like you. They
so I know a lot of folks will say that they had this passion for law enforcement or something like that. And if I'm being brutally honest, I don't know that I had that passion, but I think once I got into it, it intrigued me, and I found a calling in it, right?
Fantastic.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, absolutely does. Sergeant, how about you?
So I was born in Sarasota, Florida.
All right.
By about teenage years, I moved up to Plant City, Florida, the Strawberry Festival Mecca, I guess you should call it. And I attended Durant High School. Once I graduated from there, I went to the Florida A&M University up in Tallahassee, Florida. Go Rattlers.
Yeah. All right.
And that's where corrections first got introduced to me. I had a professor who was a major at the Leon County Detention Center, and he pulled me to the side. He was after class, and he was like, "Gemma, you have the temperament for a corrections officer." I was like,
"Okay, what is the temperament for a corrections officer?"
I guess he was just laid back. I'm not quick to anger. Like I just had the
patient, calm under pressure, right? Okay,
calm demeanor, and for some reason he saw it in me. We did a tour of the Leon County Jail.
You look kind of intimidating to me, so it works too.
I try to be, but yeah, no. He pulled me to the side and he was like, "Just think about it." And I was like, "All right, well, my dad was in law enforcement. He worked Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office for 25 plus years. I didn't necessarily want to have to go into law enforcement. Like I've always been following his footsteps, whether it was in the football or whatever. And I was always getting compared to my dad. But I mean, it happens.
Of course.
All right. So graduated in criminal justice with my bachelor's and came back home to Plant City. And then I had to start looking for a career field. And for some reason, corrections just stood out. And I started at Florida Department of Corrections, where I worked at the Zephyr Hills Correctional Institution, and within the mental health unit. And then later transferred over to the Sheriff's Office. And now here I am starting within my 15th year here under the Board of County Commissioners. So I'm happy to be here and part of the family.
Something else, kind of like a calling here, just like that. Well, I guess let me just say Happy Corrections Officers Week. Can you just tell me, being corrections officers for so long, both of you, Sergeant, you can start. What does that really mean to you?
It means a lot because you're getting the recognition from the public and everyone just on just the jobs that we do. We have a high stressful job, and the men and women, it's great that they're being recognized to go in. And we took this oath to make sure that we ensure that the citizens of the counties and all the area like that were safety. So, and safety inside the building. So it's good to be recognized in what we do. And normally I always end up out of count. Like I was just talking earlier about, I'm always out of town during Corrections Officers Week. So this is my first time since we're in the DOCC that, hey, I'm actually here and I get to participate. So the first year I was in the DR, last year I was in Aruba. So now here I am, and yeah, I'm happy to be here. So
that's fantastic. You know, it's like you say, and I'm an infrastructure guy too. So usually it's kind of out of sight, out of mind a little bit. Folks forget about it. So it's really nice to be recognized a little bit for the work that you do. You know, folks forget. You know, they catch the bad guys. Then they go somewhere, right? And they're there for a lot longer than that squad car ride over to your facility.
Absolutely.
So how about you, Lieutenant?
It's nice to be recognized. Nice to have a week dedicated to the corrections officer and to be able to highlight the sacrifices and dedication that the officers at Pasco Corrections give, right? And not only just the officers, but their families too.
That's so true.
Because we're taken away from our families quite often for holidays because it might be a work day or something like that. Hurricanes, stuff like that. We have to be in the jail. We have to provide security. It's a 24-hour operation, so we have officers that work 6 at night to 6 in the morning when most people are sleeping. So it's nice to be recognized and for us to be able to even recognize each other.
No,
yeah,
that's fantastic.
Definitely.
Well, with that recognition, you know, how can your average, what can we as a community or a community member do in order to recognize, celebrate Corrections Officers Week? Any thoughts?
For me,
bring you some cupcakes by the jail. We can do that.
That's always great. For me, it's simple though. Just going. I think we're lucky here in the county of Pasco, where when I'm out in uniform, getting gas or trying to get lunch for the shift. And just a simple thank you, you know, just coming up to us and be like, you know what, I could not do what you do. I appreciate you. Like, from whatever you guys do, like, it's a tough job. And we get just to hear that, you understand, like, yeah, I do something serious, you know, like it's important. And yeah, that's just a simple thank you for us.
Cool.
It's for me. I mean, personally,
excellent.
I'm okay with.
Lieutenant, anything to add to that?
I echo his sentiments and as a correctional officer, what they do, right? A lot of people just think we stand there and watch inmates. That's not what we do. It's a city within a city. Everything that a civilian has on the outside, we have to provide to the inmates in our custody, right? The safety and security, the medical services, the food, the laundry, mail, you name it, we have to provide it to that inmate population. Counseling services, everything, access to legal services. It goes on and on, right? So
I think a lot of people,
what I would like to say.
Yeah, I mean, you in some cases you're helping to serve out, you know, that sentence that they're doing, rehabilitate sometimes, and you know, and then on top of that, provide all the other things. So I guess I will just say to you both, thank you.
Thank you.
You know, just on behalf of those of us in the county, you know, we here at the county government side, corrections has been with us now for actually since I've been administrator. October 1st, 2022 is each of our birth dates here. So, you know, having the corrections department here has definitely been eye-opening for a lot of us here, but we're happy to have you in the family, and it's a lot of fun. Let's talk about a little bit about recognition, right? So we were just talking before the podcast started. We held our first recognition ceremony, corrections did, to recognize internally, right, for awards and stuff. Tell us a little bit about that and why it's important. Lieutenant, let's start with you.
It's always important to recognize those officers that go above and beyond and do things on a daily basis, go above and beyond their jobs, right? We save lives in the jail too, contrary to popular belief, right?
Yes, you do.
We've done it multiple times. I've seen it done. Years of service. Somebody that's been 15 years in the career deserves recognition for that time spent. Officer of the Year, Civilians of the Year. And I forgot to mention that not only correction staff, I don't know if I remembered if I said it, but we also have civilian staff that support our functions in the jail too. So it's not just about corrections officers. In my mind, we couldn't do a lot of our jobs without that civilian support in those support services areas.
That's so true. Yeah.
And then we swear in those new officers that have just joined our family, our team, right? And that's a wonderful thing too, to see that career get started and see where they go in the future.
Awesome.
Oh yeah, just piggybacking off of that is the actual ceremony was a great turnout. It was full of staff. It was full of family, friends. And like you said, we're recognizing these individuals that has done life-saving measures to save a life, the years of service. the swearing in. You got to think how I look at it is you have family and friends of, their baby boy or their precious daughter now collecting this badge and this honor of, you've done it. Like you've made it. Like Grandma's sweet pea has became a correctional officer.
Is that what your grandma said?
Yeah.
My little sweet pea there.
All those little embarrassing pet names that you get, but to those families and the members and the friends, it's a big deal for some, and it almost takes you back to when you first started, and you're swearing at someone like, man, 15 years, one day I'm gonna get there, and then now you're here, and it flies by, and
it's important, right? I mean, it's important to celebrate. If we don't celebrate, that's kind of one of the tenets here at leadership as we look and we try to recognize our people and reward positively for those things that they do well, or sometimes just even things just we do consistently. Sometimes even the more rote or mundane tasks can seem without that person there, without them feeling important and recognizing that, we're not doing our jobs as leaders. So I'm just glad that you guys are doing it, and I think it's fantastic. Let's talk about a typical day, Sergeant. I mean, what's a typical day look like for you and your fellow officers?
For the main part, I know a typical day. I guess I can speak on the day-to-day duties of our officers. They go in and they're going to establish a count. That's one main priority with our job. We got to make sure whoever's supposed to be in there is in there, and they're not.
So literally like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1,012.
However many is in your housing unit.
You got to take your boots off.
Yeah,
you better make sure.
Make sure we got enough in there, and who's supposed to be in there. Just conducting these rounds and ensuring that the rules inside our facility are being followed. Of course, we don't have the best rule followers in there. But,
no, you don't.
We have the officers there that we trust them not to become complacent and go in there and do their jobs and on those day-to-day duties. For me, I'm in intake processing, so I'm getting a lot of probable cause affidavits, ensuring that they're correct and that their arrest was actually appropriate, and we're sending that paperwork off to the courts. Some people come in and it's a shock to them that this is their first time in jail. So sometimes we have to play as like, hey, listen, I understand we made a mistake, right? But we're going to get you through this process, and then we'll get you the better steps to get you out of there. So, and you want to give that guidance. Another key, I think, typical day-to-day duties is making sure that we're doing our jobs the way we're supposed to do, providing the care, custody, and control, and that it's remains safe in the building and everyone goes home.
Very good. Yeah, Lieutenant, anything to add to that?
I would just add that, accounts, meals. I would say there's not a typical day, but there's routine things that we do, right?
Of course.
Like count, like serving meals, medication pass, laundry pass, like those are routine things in a typical day.
Gotcha.
We have what we call direct supervision jail. So our officers are in the housing units with the inmates on a daily basis, right? So
I've been to some of those actually. It's pretty interesting. That was a little nerve-wracking.
We found that creates a safer environment,
really?
Right? For the inmate population and for us as
100%,
officers to keep the jail safer, because now we are in control of that housing unit versus the inmates being in control of that housing unit. Just recently watched an episode on Netflix. I don't know if you've seen it. It's called Unlocked.
Okay. I've heard about it.
If you watch it, that's an example of what we would call a linear style jail, where the officers are outside the housing unit and the inmates, and you'll see if you watch that the inmates take control and they make their own rules. We have decided that's not the best way to go. We want to be in the housing unit. We want to be that authority figure inside that housing unit, enforcing the rules and regulations so that we can thwart any problems, any fights, contraband, stuff like that. So essentially we're patrolling that area just like a patrol officer would patrol their zone, right?
Right.
So we're just doing it on a little bit of a smaller scale is the way I like to describe it to people.
Okay,
so,
gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, what about a not so routine day then, Lieutenant? What does that look like? And feel free to share any kind of war story. I don't care. Whatever you can share, I guess.
So a not so routine day for me that comes to the forefront of my mind is, one day I'm what you call the facility float. So I'm running around escorting inmates here and there. An officer calls me from our medical wing and I'm talking to him and he's like, hey, I need you to come up here and give me a hand getting this mattress out of this inmate's cell because he's tearing it up and he's ripping it and he's causing a problem. I'm like, all right, I'll be right there. And just as I'm about to hang up the phone, he's like, oh, wait, hold on a second. He's starting a fire in his cell and he hangs up. And I'm like, what? So I run over there, I get on the Med 3 wing, and there is smoke billowing out from underneath this cell, right? And I just stop and I'm like, I couldn't believe it. I hadn't seen anything. I'm young in my career. I'm like, okay, well, I guess I need to go get a fire extinguisher, right? So I run, I get a fire extinguisher. I come back, open up the door. I spray the fire out, right? But now this inmate comes out and tries to attack us. So now you go from a life-saving routine into now you're defending yourself, right? So you take him down, you handcuff him, get that all settled down, but we're on our medical wing. So now we have all sorts of different classifications of inmates. There's smoke. We have to now separate those inmates, escort them to different areas.
And by classification, you're talking like this guy's in for murder, this guy's in for this. Yeah, no, that's fine.
Red dot inmates, administratively segregated inmates that are up there just for medical reasons. We can't house them together, so we have to find different locations to put them. Right?
Gotcha.
So it just becomes a challenge. So
no kidding.
That was not a typical.
Wow,
day.
that's something else.
Yeah, I mean, I could go on for days. Hot water lines breaking in the laundry area and steam and water rushing out the back. Like there's no written policy on how to handle something like that.
That's correct.
Right?
You just got to deal with it, and then at the same time manage safety and security at all costs. Yes, absolutely. How about you, Sergeant?
Recently, not too long ago, not so typical day is they're doing laundry and a fire breaks out in one of the dryers, and
I heard about that actually. Yes.
And when smoke hits the fan, it was up. Like you're not expecting that. Like we're just trying to dry clothes here, and here we got a fire going. So just to watch that staff and the immediate response to put it out and just go.
And I imagine that puts the entire facility there. I mean, you're talking to fire, right? I mean, if this building were to catch fire, we're all in the parking lot.
Correct.
It's not exactly kind of the way that a fire drill in a jail is a little bit different.
It's a little bit different. Yeah. You got to make sure we monitor how we move and maneuver the inmate population that's in there.
Well, fantastic. Can you talk about some of the things that you all might do that actually your average person might be surprised to hear?
I would say recently when we were invited by Pasco Fire to do community engagement at the Pasco Fair. Okay. It was surprising. Well, a lot of our citizens were surprised to see us just out and socializing and engaging with the community. And it was a great time. I was handing out noisemakers to the kids, and some of the citizens was like, "Man, y'all work in the jail?" I was like, "Y'all, what are y'all doing out here?"
They let us out.
Yeah, we're just enjoying the festivities here at the fair. So I think that's one where people are surprised that we do actually go out within the community and engage. We do recruiting at the high schools where we may try to find some.
Keep it up, guys. We need more of you.
Absolutely.
Shameless plug here today.
And we'll go to these high schools and these criminal justice classes and tell them what our job is, because a lot of people just they don't know. So we try to give them that information and give them tools to maybe make a different decision and come to correction.
Cool. I want to pull on that thread a little later in the podcast. Lieutenant, what about you?
I would say that most people would be surprised that most of the depictions from Hollywood and the media of corrections officers are absolutely not true. In Pasco Corrections, we have a group of professionals that are dedicated to their craft, right? We treat people with respect and dignity, and that's what we're proud of, right? We have to provide a safe environment not only for ourselves but for the inmate population, and I hope that people will understand that, right? We're not, for lack of a better term, we're not just a bunch of knuckle dragging thugs, right? We are professionals and we take our job seriously.
Absolutely, absolutely. And thanks for putting that out there. And you both are in positions of leadership, right? Yes, Lieutenant Sergeant here. Sure. Can you talk to us, a little bit about what leadership means to each one of you? I don't care who starts.
For me, I believe leadership is showing up and willing to step up in situations that your people are dependent on you for. Leading by example, being that servant leader. It's always a task, but it has to be done by somebody. And I guess when you're in these supervisory roles, you have to make these decisions. And
leadership's a little calling within a calling.
And it can mean anything from different people. Like you have informal leaders where
always.
And as a leader, you lean on some of your informal leaders because they're there to help you. And that's one of the lessons that I've learned, I would say, is leaning on your experienced staff and completing the task.
Well, that's kind of what we look at too within just county government. That aligns, right? When we talk about people, purpose, and performance, taking care of people, connecting to their purpose, and then just getting out of the way. Performance will take care of itself. So that's true empowerment. So that's amazing and great to hear. How about you, Lieutenant?
I'm really passionate about leadership. I read a lot of books about it and stuff, and try to practice it, and always trying to hone my craft.
Right.
I'm always trying to learn. But one of the biggest things I feel is relationship building.
Okay.
Building those relationships with not only the staff that you are leading, but up the chain of command, down the chain of command, across the chain of command, with other departments, media relations, facilities. Like we need to develop those relationships. Humility is a big thing for me. Being humble about being a leader.
Absolutely.
And being willing to accept criticism, and not that you're always the smartest person in the room, right? To your point, empowering, right? I like to empower the people that I'm leading, give them the ability to run those housing units, and give them the authority to supervise those housing units. They're the authority figure in that housing unit. They're leaders amongst themselves in those housing units. They lead more people than I lead. They lead up to 110 inmates in a housing unit, right?
That's true.
So I want to be able to, as a leader, empower them to do that, and not ride them or be I just want to be a support to them, right? And have an I care attitude, not just about myself, but about my fellow corrections officers, care about them going home at the end of the day, care about the department, care about Pasco County, care about the citizens, just care. And I may get laughed at for this, but we do have to care for the inmate population in some respects,
You
right?
absolutely do.
It's just part of our function and part of our job.
It's interesting. I want to pull on two things you talked about, and it's just this first one is just a curiosity of mine. When you talk about leading within the housing units, right? I mean, and we talk about inmates and interactions with inmates. I would imagine there's a little bit of an informal leadership structure going on amongst the inmates. Do your folks leverage that as well to kind of help keep control, or is that just something that's more in the movies?
I would say more for intel purposes wise,
gotcha.
right? Like,
Okay.
so if our officers can identify somebody in a housing unit that's trying to take that leadership role in the housing unit, just know who that person is, right? So that we can monitor what's going on, because that could lead to extortion. It could lead to stealing of commissary. It could lead to fights. It could lead to gang activity, right?
Sure.
So we try not to allow that to happen. But you're going to always have those alphas that are going to rise up within those housing units. But it's our job to kind of tamp that down a little bit.
Excellent,
right?
excellent. Yeah. The other thing I wanted to key in on, you mentioned it was humility, and humility is so important. Knowing what you know, knowing what you don't know. Late Commissioner Gary Bradford, we had his funeral here recently, and one of the things that always struck me about him, he's obviously a big proponent of public safety, which would include corrections, but was just humility and leading with curiosity, knowing what you know and knowing what you don't know. So just happy to hear that you guys are talking like that, and that you see it that way. It's really perfect. Let's talk about influencers. Any one or multiple people that have influenced you in your leadership style, Lieutenant?
So, I mean, so many. It took a village to build me, in my opinion. Anywhere from sports with coaches and military leaders, and my leaders within corrections taught me about dedication and commitment, resiliency, especially in the military, the resiliency and the resolve to keep going, right? I mean, you're on an aircraft carrier and you're doing a weapons onload for 36 hours. You got to stay within it. My parents kind of get emotional thinking about that, but sorry.
Hey, that's okay, man.
I didn't think that was going to hit me.
Safe space here. You're
man.
good.
No, everybody's going to see this. But no, but seriously, like my father, I think that's where I get my training aspect from.
Cool.
The time that I spent with my dad was all about him training me, right? Teaching me how to fix a car, teaching me how to fix electricity, just teaching me all that stuff. My mom taught me respect and manners. They taught me nothing was given to you. You had to earn it. And then my wife teaching me how to communicate, talking to me about choosing my words wisely, right? And getting on me about interrupting people just to get my point across, right? And honestly, I'm still working on that. I'm very passionate about the way I believe in something.
You get a Lifetime Achievement Award for that.
Yeah. I'm still, that's a work in progress, and she'll tell you that. So
Awesome. Sergeant, how about you? Who's influencers?
Same. I've played a lot of sports coming up. Of course, those coaches are always they lead and they lead us young men and to be what we are. But the biggest leader for me, I would say, was my late grandfather.
Okay.
He taught us a lot of lessons between like maybe my brother, my dad, my uncle, my aunt. Like that man, he went above and beyond. He strove. He had a drive to make sure that we became something, right? I remember summers where in Plant City, I'm literally getting up at 6 a.m. and going to work in the orange groves, and I'm like, why is he doing this to me? Like, why is he putting me through this from sun up to sundown? But it taught me, the hard work and the drive to, this is our land, so we're providing a lot of produce, and we're selling it and giving back. So just that alone, I remember I have the picture on my phone now, this big orange grove that I started from one at the beginning of the summer until the end of the summer. And now looking back at it, it's like, man, I did that. Like my granddad had me out. I felt like he was crazy a little bit, but I did that. And just even something as simple as financial stuff. When I first got my job at DLC, he took my first paycheck and sat me at the dinner table, and he was like, all right, let's pay some bills. And I noticed that I need to save money because that money left quick.
It does.
When I first started, the pay wasn't like it should have been, but I noticed I was like, okay, I need to pay attention to the dollar.
Yeah, I used to let my kids watch me pay bills from time to time.
He put it over the first check. I was like, man, I can't even splurge or nothing. Can't go buy some Jordans or nothing. Like it's just no. He legit took that check and showed me how to finance and keep a book, a log book. To this day, I have a ledger. When I'm paying bills, I'm going to the ledger as soon as I get paid. So those life lessons, they go a long way.
It does. Now, as leaders, you guys have been leaders for a while. Any lessons or wisdom you'd like to share? Successes, challenges, Sergeant?
Listening to the staff. A lot of staff, they have good input, and just being that their leader and understanding and empathizing with them when they have concerns or questions.
Empathy in a corrections officer environment, right? You almost feel like they don't even go, but you're so right. What kind of things do your people see that you feel like you got to empathize with to kind of help them along?
Just as simple as going through their day to day. Like they may be dealing like you brought up earlier is getting to know them. Like I try to get to know each one of my individuals, knowing that I got one person over here, he learns different. So I have to break it down to him a different way than I would break down something to a younger one that's just starting. But just understanding that they grew up in a different time than I did, and or they did, and trying to get them to understand each other and work together and to complete the goal and task that's set at hand.
Awesome. How about you, Lieutenant?
Check your ego as a leader. It's not about you.
Right.
And I think you got to believe that too, that it's really not about you. It's about the department, other people, or the agency. It's not about you as a leader if you're going to undertake being a leader. And if you're going to take responsibility for all the good things that happen as a leader, you absolutely have to take responsibility for the things that go wrong.
100%.
Right?
No.
I mean, the buck stops with you, right? And you got to truly believe that you own that, right? And figure out a way to fix it. Self-reflection is a big one for me. I've learned that over the years. I've learned it's a new thing for me. Is to always look inward and say, okay, did I do everything I could do in this situation? And bounce that off of people too, and ask people. And don't always think that you're the smartest person in the room, right? Colin Powell, I read a lot. I read a book. Colin Powell had a great thing where, and I can't quote him exactly, but basically, we can disagree in this room and have that conversation in this room. And I like that, and I want that discord, and I want that disagreement. But when we leave here, this is the decision that was made.
We're lockstep at that point.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And he also said another thing that resonated with me: never walk by a problem. And that's just a simple thing. I mean, even if you're walking down the hall and you see a piece of trash on the ground, pick it up and throw it in the garbage, right?
Right.
You have an officer patting down inmates.
Yeah, if you see somebody,
like 10 of them, he has to pat down.
Yeah, pat them down, right?
Just going down and helping out, patting those inmates down to help them out, just so he's not.
And it may not be my job, but you know what? I'm going to get it done. And if you have to, as a leader, maybe go to that person whose job it is and explain to them, hey, maybe you need to step up your game a little bit, right?
Right. Or maybe there was something else, but
maybe they were busy doing something, or so you never know, right? But have that conversation. Yeah. So that's
fantastic.
That's the advice I would give.
Great advice there, guys. So, finally, let's we talked about it a little bit earlier. You're talking about going to high schools and recruiting. Guys, we're expanding our facility right now, right? Yes. I mean, and with that expansion, right now you've got guys working overtime shifts and just all kinds of things. We need corrections officers in Pasco County, no doubt about it. Any advice to anyone seeking about a career here in corrections?
Having the great attitude, having a willingness to learn the job, remaining clean. Sometimes you don't realize when you're young, you make these mistakes and it catches up to you. You have to answer to some of these things that we do. So making sure your record's clean is another one, a big one. Staying true and transparent throughout the application process. That's another thing that with recruiting, we try our best to with the applicants to let them know, so we can get them on board and fill in some of these gaps and get them on to start their career.
Yeah.
Be forthcoming about any mistakes you did make in the past, because there's some forgiveness there.
Of course, right? Own it, right? Own it. We all make mistakes.
But the moment that you, I'm not going to, for lack of a better term, lie about it.
Sure.
Maybe you're just lie by omission. But if we find out about it, now that goes to your integrity, right? Yep. Mm-hmm. So that's a big thing that we see a lot.
And integrity is one of our core values here as an organization. Mm-hmm. It has to be of the highest caliber in your organization, just because of the environment that you're dealing with and what's entrusted. You guys are really protecting the public there. That's good advice, guys. I hope we're able to bring more. I'm told we need almost 200 new corrections officers here within the next couple of years. So, which is a huge increase in our force. So we want to do everything that we can to help recruit and show folks that you can make a career as a corrections officer. And for you guys, I mean, I don't even think, Lieutenant, you even sought it out. At first. It was like
I didn't.
Once you got in, it grew. And I think even same with Chief Jenkins. I remember when I spoke with her at one point in time, she really, same thing. I think I want to get into it. I'll see it as a pathway into law enforcement. And then this is a calling. Yeah,
a lot of us is just not planned to do it. It's just we end up in it, and now we're here, and it's like, man, it's not that bad. Like, I'm actually made for this.
That's good. You're making a difference.
Well, we find out with the younger folks when we're going to the high schools, they don't even really know what a corrections officer is, and they don't know the career. So Jan and I have talked about educating them about that, right? Going to the criminal justice classes. We've been invited multiple times to educate them about that. This is a career field, right? It's not just a job. It's a career, and you can make a life out of it, right? So anybody that's interested in it, I would tell them to go for it,
PascoCorrections.com.
Absolutely.
Perfect.
Yeah, call me.
Call us. We're now accepting applications. Yes, we mentioned we would pay you for training. So, all right. Well, hey, listen, guys, real quick, a couple of off-script questions. Sergeant, we'll start with you. Salty or sweet?
I'm going to go with sweet.
Sweet? Yeah, you're a sweet guy. Yeah, sweet pea. Got it. Sweet pea. How about you, Lieutenant?
Sweet.
Sweet. All right. Very good. All right. Movie or book?
Oh, that's a tough one. Probably movie, but I have been getting into books lately.
Yeah, that's
movie,
all right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm a movie guy.
Movie guy. All right. Yeah. Keep it on the reel there. All right. Favorite holiday, Sergeant?
My favorite holiday would have to be Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving.
It's when family gets around and you get to get some good food.
Get some good food. Maybe some football in there. I don't know.
Football's in there. Well, hopefully the Bucks are there.
How about you, Lieutenant?
I mean, it's a toss-up for me between the 4th of July and Christmas. To be honest with
really?
You.
All right. Yeah. Fourth. I've never heard 4th of July. Talk to me. Yeah. Just
just celebrating our country, right? Yeah. I mean, really. It's the most amazing place on earth. It really is. So
absolutely,
that's why it's tough for me between Christmas and
man. I'm with you 100%. Yeah. That's great. All right, morning person or night owl?
I'm definitely a morning person. Ask my wife.
Yeah.
I go with the flow, honestly. I can be morning, I can be night. There's days I work at night, and then I got to go and recruit during the day. I'm just...
Man, my eyes are closing at 9:30, man.
24/7.
Yeah.
He's just always available. When
last night, here I am. Like, I was up, ready.
Really? Oh, man. No, I had the best night of my sleep all week last night. So, me, man, I'm like, I hit the pillow. I'm out, but 5 a.m. rolls around. Ding. Yeah, we're up and going here. Favorite ice cream flavor?
Vanilla.
Plain vanilla.
Because you can put whatever you want on top of it.
Fair enough. Right? I like that.
So,
if you say tutti frutti.
No. So, I grew up with butter pecan, right? Or pecan, or however you say it. Right?
Yeah.
But I have recently tried this ooey gooey butter cake ice cream.
Ooey gooey butter
Ooh,
cake.
what's in that?
Can I get that at Publix? Where do I get that?
What is it? It's at Publix, yes.
Yeah.
Or Walmart, wherever. But it's some good stuff.
Right.
I will say,
Ooey gooey.
it changed my life. But I don't know. It's close to like it's butter. I love my butter pecan, but
Well, we're going to end on that note, man. Wow, ooey gooey changes your life, folks. So, hey, listen, gentlemen, thank you very much for being here today. It was really great chatting with you. And special thanks to our media relations team who makes this effort possible. And thank you for joining us in this episode of Pasco County Podcast. I'm Mike Carballa, and we'll see you next time.
For more information on Pasco County government, please visit mypasco.net and check us out on Facebook and Twitter.